All right, welcome back. We have Tubi Makanjuola. He's the head corporate sales at Old Mutual Life Assurance Limited, joining me right now from South Africa. Hello, Tubi, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Nancy.
How
Nice
you?
to be on the show.
Likewise, having you this morning. Now, let's get started. Can you please just describe your role in just a few seconds for me? What you do at Old Mutual?
Okay, my name is Makanjuola Tubi. As you earlier mentioned, I head the corporate business for Old Mutual Nigeria Life Insurance.
Okay, I know that Old Mutual is about 176 years old. Can you talk to me
Yeah.
about the countries you are on the continent, on the African continent, and what area of expertise really does Old Mutual provide internationally?
So Old Mutual is a premium financial services provider with geographical presence across 14 countries on the African continent, including Nigeria as well. Our specialty is in protection, that's life and short-term insurance, savings and investment products. But our Nigerian businesses are purely focused on protection, which is insurance, on the life insurance and short-term insurance, otherwise known as general insurance.
Okay, Tubu, how long have you been in Nigeria? How long have your operations been in Nigeria? And what services do you really provide for locals here? Since it's an international company, I'm interested to know how long you've
Yeah.
been here. Are you a popular are you a popular company in Nigeria that provide those services? I know you'll be a bit biased, but just speak to me objectively.
Oh, yes. In response to your question, we've been around for a while. We've actually been around since 2013. We started operations for our life insurance business in 2013. And a year after, we started our general insurance business in 2013. Like I mentioned, our focus is on providing protection, essentially financial solutions and risk advisory solutions to the Nigerian populace across life insurance with products such as group life insurance, credit life insurance, Keyman, as well as basic term life insurance policies. Whilst on the general insurance side, we offer more popular policies like motor insurance, fire and burglar insurance, marine, and the likes. But we have been around for a while.
Okay, okay. You guys have been around for a while since 2013 here in Nigeria. But I would like you, with your lens, to describe how the insurance industry has been in Nigeria. Of course, a lot of analysts would argue that it's still in its infancy. As we speak, if you take a look at even the data, the contribution to GDP is still not that, not that much, unlike your cousins, the banking sector. So, yes. So, how can also insurance promote Nigeria's development moving forward?
So, like you rightly said, the insurance industry, the Nigerian insurance industry has actually been around for a while. Dates back to the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. My memory serves me well. But indeed, I couldn't agree more with the fact that you highlighted. We're not where we should be as an industry locally. GDP contribution, penetration rates are at an abysmal rate. They're both less than 1%. And that just shows you, where we are as an industry. And the bane of the slow growth of the industry is, I like to just go to them under three headings, essentially. First, there's a lack of awareness, and that's the reality. Using Nigeria as a case study, we're a culturally diverse society with over 250 ethnic groups. People that need to be reached essentially, the same way they're being reached for banking services, they also need to be reached for insurance services. So there's generally that lack of awareness. People don't know what insurance is, what insurance provides, or what insurance brings to the table. Second, there's the case of accessibility, which we can also tie to my very first point, our distribution channels. The world is evolving very quickly, and the industry needs to come up with more innovative innovative and creative ways to reaching out to people to take up these risk solutions. And then there's also the case of affordability. Came across a report about a week ago, describing Nigeria as multi-dimensionally poor.
Yeah.
About 60% of the Nigerian populace are actually classified as poor. And that's usually a subject because the average man just wants to put food on his table before he begins to talk about other necessities like insurance. So it also has to be affordable, by the people for insurance to actually take its place in the industry.
I liked your explanation because if you take a look at it, an average Nigerian will say, God is my insurance. Are you insured against death? I say, no, God forbid, it's not my portion. How about car insurance? Oh, no, no, it will not break down. God forbid, stop thinking bad things towards me and all of that. So it's like more of a cultural issue. But people
Issue.
like you and players, stakeholders like you should do a lot to improve and increase awareness that, as far as you're alive, you should insure. In fact, in the developed world, some beautiful women even insure their legs, and all of
Yeah.
and, yeah, and all of that. So I think you and your colleagues in that sector still has a lot to do. But you mentioned earlier about group life insurance. I would like you to really explain in details what that means and perhaps why all employers should get it for their staff as it concerns group life insurance. And it's also regulated. It's mandated by the regulator.
Yes.
Yeah. So explain
Yeah,
that.
you're absolutely right, Nancy. A group life insurance policy is actually mandated by law, driven by the Pension Reform Act of 2004 and 2014. Essentially, it mandates that every employer of labor, should take up a group life insurance policy for all its employees. This policy is essentially meant to cater for necessities that may arise following, the loss of an employee, who obviously would have some commitments and liabilities, that he may have that may need to be catered for in the event, of his death or critical condition, whichever comes into play. It's usually tied to 3 times the annual total emolument of that employee. Prior to the regulation, it was tied to the basic housing and transport elements, excluding all the other allowances. But the Act now mandates that it's a total composition of the annual emoluments of each employee. And in breaking it down further, it would mean that if I'm on an annual salary of 4 million, where I work, it would mean that in the event of my death, my family or my named beneficiaries will be entitled to a lump sum benefit of 12 million. Now, 12 million would address a lot. I mean, people have bills, they have liabilities, essentially just ensures continuity of the lives of those that you leave behind.
Tubi, I want to get clarity because I seem to have lost you a bit there. How can someone that
Oh,
is
okay, sorry.
interested, yes, how can someone that is interested in this group life or an employer have it for his or her staff? And like how much is being contributed? Can you just break it down a bit? Because I lost you there a bit.
Okay, so for an employer that is interested, I expect every employer to be interested because it's a mandatory policy. They can contact us or reach out to us at Old Mutual. We would require some basic information, essentially the schedule of employees that that organization wants to put on cover, providing their names, dates of birth, gender, and then the annual total salaries or total emoluments for each employee. Upon receiving that, we'll then provide a quote, which would then form the basis of incepting the group life insurance policy.
Okay, is there a minimum annual salary that you can't go below? For example, if an annual salary of staff it's like less than a million or about a million, are those categories of people also entitled to have this group life? When they approach you, would you be able to structure a deal for them?
Absolutely. Everyone is entitled to take up this policy regardless of what the annual earnings are.
Okay.
The Act basically just stipulates every employer of labor. Once you have a business or an organization that you're running and you have people, clearly every business is driven by people. You have people that are committing their lives, their everyday lives to ensuring the goal and the vision of that business organization is achieved. Then the employer has that responsibility to ensure, regardless of whatever the employee is earning, to ensure that they have a life insurance policy, which in this case would be the group life insurance. policy in place for the employees. So it's not tied to any minimum, if I'm able to put it that way in response to your questions. Even if the employee is earning 200,000 per annum, he is entitled to 3 times the annual total emoluments upon death.
Okay. Does this policy also cover registered trade names? Because you know that there are some people that just register with trade names. Not everyone is like a limited, as it were. So does this policy also cover those categories of people?
Certainly it does. It covers those categories of people as well.
Okay.
I think the underlying theme here is once you have anybody working for you or working for your organization, you should, very much the same way, we find people contribute pensions, put up health insurance, for employees. Once you have employees in your care, it's your responsibility as an employer to ensure that in the event of death or life certainties, that you're not tasked. It's also beneficial to the employer, I must say. You don't want to be tasked with the burden of settling families or loved ones when employees, pass on during the course of work, with your organization. You want, a mechanism like insurance to cater for that, which is why it's essential every employer takes this very seriously.
Okay. What would you say about the level of compliance to this? Because some people may just even be hearing it for the first time from you today. How do you increase the level of compliance?
So level of compliance, I like to respond to that essentially by saying it's not where it should be. There's still a lot to be done. And if I use our state governments as an example, as at 2020, we have 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory in Nigeria. As of 2020, I think we only had 5 states, that complied, with this group life insurance policy. I mean, we're in 2023 now. I mean, if I even decide to consider some level of growth, I'm still not sure we have up to 10 states, in compliance. That's just to give you a snapshot of the level of compliance, even from the public service. On the private sector side, compliance is a lot more, but like I said, it's not where, it should be. And I still think generally that the awareness, the burden is still on us as an industry to continually create awareness, educating employers, on the benefits of these policies. The reality is some people just start businesses or start a business or start an organization, without really knowing, these essentials that need to be factored when building the business. So I think it starts first with increasing the level of awareness, to everyone, that is required to take up these policies. And then we'll see the growth, begin to come through. Even for the business owners, I mean, I know how many fire incidents, ensued last year, for small and medium enterprises that had their businesses under bridges, and the likes, and essentially just grinded their businesses, to a halt. With insurance policies, business continuity, is guaranteed. They have something to fall back on, to start their lives again.
Okay, Tubi, let me ask this question. How is group life calculated? What's the formula? I'm a numbers person. So how is it calculated? Give me the numbers.
Essentially what every new prospect is always asking, how is this computed? So we're guided with the minimum pricing. There's a minimum rate, that is applied. There's a range between 6 to 8 per mil that is applied on the total annual salaries, for each organization. So if I use an organization that has a total annual salary of, say, 100 million, and it's meant to be a factor of 3 times, which would then be 300 million. So it would be 300 million times 0.6%. That's actually what will be payable.
Okay, so it's also the same. Let's say the annual salaries of your staff fall within, let's say, like 5 million or 10 million. So it will be 10 million times 0.6%.
3. No, times 3. That will bring it to 15 million.
So 15
Remember,
million.
I said it's 3 times the annual total salaries. So that will bring it to 15 million. And then it's applied, to a minimum rate of 0.6%.
Okay, so that is what the employer will pay.
Yes, annually.
Annually. Okay. Okay, so we've gotten that out of the way. Can the policy be extended with additional coverage?
Yes. So the group life insurance policy, the one mandated by law is actually just tied to the basic cover of death. However, we found instances and demands from the market on providing additional, what we tend to call riders or extensions to that policy. So Old Mutual's group life policy, for instance, offers additional extensions that cover critical illness. So, I mean, we find cases where people don't die, but people, life happens. People just wake up and find out, that they're diagnosed with a critical condition. Essentially, we know the state of our healthcare industry today. It comes with a lot of costs, and they are not able to pay for it. The employer is then, burdened with the responsibility of, providing some support, to that employee. This rider offers that level of support, that kind of support, to cover critical illness conditions like cancer, heart disease, and the likes. Our policy also offers extensions to cover disability, permanent disability, during the course. It's actually even a 24-hour extension, not even just limited to work hours, and then we also offer funeral expenses, which is actually payable immediately. Once death is confirmed, we're able to disburse whatever funeral expense that may have been computed, to the family, so they can quickly just plan for the funeral or burial of the loss of the loved one, pending when the main benefits, will become payable. Because for the main benefit to become payable, we typically require supporting documents, like the medical certificate of cause of death, a police report where death is as a result of an accident, and the National Population Commission certificate of death. But you see, with the funeral expenses benefit, you don't need to provide all of that. Once the employer can confirm authoritatively that they have lost that employee and they want to start making arrangements for burial and funeral, that becomes immediately payable.
Okay. I have three more questions for you, and let's fire. And
All right.
Okay. I think the first of the three questions should be, as a staff member, how do you ensure that you get those benefits? That's one. Then number two, what other benefits do you offer to employees and organizations, or what benefits will you offer to them in the future? I know you've enumerated a few now, but if you have some that you've missed,
Yeah.
you can actually talk about that. Then thirdly, what is the message that you really have for Nigerians concerning insurance, or what you've said at least in the last 15 minutes?
Sorry, what was the first question again?
Now, the first question is, how do you think that staff, or how should they ensure that they get these benefits?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as an employee, I think the very first thing, it starts with your terms of employment. Every employee should ensure, I expect that every employer would impute that in the terms of employment, stating what benefits each employee is entitled to, which should clearly, show that there's a group life insurance policy in place in the event of the death of that employee. Now, what also supports that is the Act, the PRA Act of 2014, also mandates that every employer should actually publicly display a certificate of compliance for this policy, in their offices. So as an employee, you should check. Once you don't see that certificate publicly displayed, I think you have a right to engage your employer to ask and confirm whether they do have that policy in place for you. The second question, if you could help me with that
Okay,
again.
the second
Trying
question
to
is,
remember now.
yes, the second question, so sorry, Tumbi. The second question is about what other offerings, apart from those you enumerated earlier, that you have
Oh,
for
okay.
employees or organizations. Are
Yeah,
there
so
any?
essentially we have those three offerings in the market. There are a few others, in the works. We also offer financial education for our clients. We offer wellness programs, essentially to just help improve employee lifestyles, in preventing death, essentially. It's better to prevent, these incidences from occurring. So we try to do that as value-added propositions, to our employees. But we also have one or two other offerings, that we'll be finalizing during the course of the year, based on the peculiarity of our market here.
Okay.
And then to your final question, essentially, which would be my comment or message to Nigerians. Life in itself is a risk. Every single day, every moment of our lives is a risk. There's a risk that you will sleep and you will not wake up tomorrow. There's a risk that you will do you even get up this tomorrow and you set out, for your business or work and you don't come back. And I like to use the very, very recent incident that happened yesterday at Ojuele, the accident that happened with the container that crushed, a commuter bus, and 9 lives were lost. Those individuals probably didn't plan it. Nobody would have seen that coming. But here we are, their lives are gone. I mean, nobody's here to tell the story, and they would obviously have, people that they, must have left behind or that are dependent on them for something. And that's what insurance essentially does. Continuity. It ensures that the lives of even those that you leave behind is not brought to an abrupt end. They have something, to start off with. And there are a number of solutions around in the Nigerian insurance industry. And would appreciate um, people reaching out to Old Mutual. We'll find solutions that are tailored, to specific needs, for individuals and organizations, and ensure that we are truly that certain friend in uncertain times. Thank you.
Okay, Tubi, just finally in 10 seconds, how do they reach you? Do you have a number, a website you want to just quickly drop?
So we can be reached on www.oldmutual.com.ng, and then we can be reached via email at customercare@oldmutualnigeria.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Tumbi. That's it. So we'll put the website on the
Thank you,
screen
Nancy.
for our viewers to see. So you've got to check out Old Mutual. Life itself is a risk. But Tumbi, I'll see you again soon. You know. I'll see you again soon. You're not going anywhere yet. Neither am I going anywhere yet. You see, that's the mentality we're talking about. But I'll see you again soon. Thank you for speaking with me today.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, I've been speaking with Tumbi Makanjuola, who is the head corporate sales at Old Mutual Life Assurance Limited. You've heard it all. You've got to insure yourself, your car, your business, whatever thing that you've got to insure it.